Mormons vary. You will meet some who are iron rod Mormons, as they're called, rigidly, uncompromisingly committed to the official teachings and life ways and authority structure of textbook Mormonism. You'll also meet cultural Mormons. Perhaps they like the family values of LDS community and the moral ideals of Mormonism, or perhaps LDS church membership looks good on their resume, but they couldn't care less about official church teaching or authority or dietary code, etc. Some of these, as noted above, get popularly labeled Jack Mormons. That said, you will usually find a solid, if not fierce, loyalty to the LDS Church among Mormons all across the spectrum, especially noticeable when they perceive their church as being attacked or criticized. Why? Well, they share a strong sense of common identity, and that identity is formed by four powerful factors of LDS community. Both those born in the LDS Church and recent converts to Mormonism will experience these as formative influences. Though, of course, newer converts are not quite as steeped in them, even though they often have more zeal than the lifelongers. Let's look at these four factors. First, a shared community life. The who we are of the community gets forged out of the what we do as the people of that community live life together. We deal here, of course, with simple sociological reality as it pertains to any community, not just Mormon community. But the shared life of Mormons is particularly tight and cohesive, as may often be the case with strongly religious communities. The pattern of community life, what we may call its social rhythms, are experienced as something pretty much the same everywhere, in every ward the world over. It starts with Sunday meetings. Each ward gets assigned a 3-hour block of time. Actually, that's been changed recently to a 2-hour block of time. And the local typically means walking distance. The local church building where space gets shared by several wards throughout the day. In those 2 hours, they hold Sunday school in age groups, as well as the weekly sacrament meeting, which is their worship service, in which the sacrament is taken, which is their version of the Lord's Supper or communion or Eucharist. Some special meetings may get worked into those 2 hours as well. In addition to these weekly ritual experiences are occasional special rituals such as baptism by immersion to become a full member at age 8, and a blessing given a baby by his or her father and a group of men joining him. Hands are laid on the baby and a patriarchal prayer is offered. Then on top of these are a number of social and educational gatherings and rituals, which include primary for young children, mutual for teenagers, a co-ed group meeting, priesthood for young men, seminary classes for release time education during the school week, meeting near junior high and high schools, church potluck meals, especially around holidays, service projects to help people in the area when needed, for example, cleaning up flood damage, and more. Suffice it to say, these activities powerfully bond people, reinforcing group identity. Secondly, let's talk about the conversion experience. If one who did not grow up in the LDS Church becomes a member, she or he will be called a convert. But if they did grow up in the church, membership in itself is not enough. The necessary key in both cases is called gaining a testimony. Each person will be invited or exhorted to have this experience, and experience is indeed the key word. To gain a testimony of the truthfulness of the LDS Church means coming to a place of unwavering confidence in the institution as the one true church of Jesus Christ on earth, and in its prophets, starting with Joseph Smith, Jr., through an emotional experience. which is taken to be a spiritual experience, in which God responds to a sincere prayer by, quote unquote, bearing witness to them in their spirit through a warm, affirming feeling. Now, we outsiders may question the source or validity of that affective experience as a standalone test of the church's truthfulness, but in fact, it remains that it strongly reinforces their identity as Mormons in its function as an initiation ritual, though a private experience. Thirdly, there's what we might term rites of passage. Some of these insider milestones that mark the journey of a faithful Latter-day Saint have been mentioned previously, for example, baby blessing, baptism, or gaining a testimony. Going through each rite of passage underscores for the participant their sense of belonging to the group. Here's a fuller list of the Mormon rites of passage. 1, infant blessing. 2, baptism at age 8. 3, going on trek to remember the pioneer's arduous journey by reenacting it. 4, priesthood ordination for males only at age 12. Patriarchal blessing, number 5. Number 6, serving a mission. Number 7, temple marriage or sealing for time and all eternity is the language they use. Number 8, having children. Number 9, advancing in the priesthood hierarchy. And then there's a fourth factor, which we'll call a common history. Mormon people greatly value their history, telling and retelling faith-promoting stories from it to their children and their children's children. This practice contributes powerfully to their sense of peoplehood. Some of the crucial stories they tell themselves are: 1, the first vision experience of Joseph Smith Jr. and the consequent claimed exclusive restoration of original Christianity. 2, the coming forth of the Book of Mormon. 3, hardship and persecution or conflict endured by ancestors for the truth. For example, the Hans Mill Massacre, as it's known from their history. 4, the Mormon exodus of 100,000 people over the plains from America to the Great Basin. And 5, the martyrdom of Joseph Smith. And 6, establishing Zion in the desert as the new restored Israel. We conclude this section by reiterating the main point. LDS corporate identity, most often owned very personally and deeply, is forged by these 4 powerful factors operating in the lives of the church members.